Hello, guys, and welcome back to Flow State. It is episode 31 today. It is me, Luke, as always. I am joined by Mr. Adam Smith, my illustrious co-host. Adam, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm good.
Just as you were about
there.
to take a sip. Yep, sorry, mate.
Usually you do a bit longer.
I know. I don't know. I don't know what came over me. I fancy just kind of let's go. I want to hear how you've been.
Don't worry, mate. Don't worry, mate. It's not you. It's me. I went to take a quick sip of coffee and quickly jump back to the mic. But things are good, mate. You can probably hear. Like I was just saying to you, I'm still not at full health, but I'm getting there slowly but surely. So I've just noticed I changed my light settings just this morning because do you remember last week we were saying you looked so bright and healthy and I looked very dull and everything else, but I've just realized it's like a very white setting.
You look
I'm
like
hoping.
Go on. Sorry.
I think whenever we put it into the editing software, it dims it a little bit. I think that's what I figured out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me,
it's only taken me 30 weeks.
Yeah, you look a little bit more angelic today. You've got like a bit of a glow about you. And it's I couldn't put my finger on it initially, but now you've mentioned it, I can see you've got the Elgato coming down. You look I can see the glint in your eye. It's good. It's working.
Well, we'll see. It's either going to be Casper the Friendly Ghost or it's going to look good. So we'll see. But no, man, things are well. Yeah, things are pretty good. How's you?
Yeah, very good as well. Couple of bits going on in my world. Training kind of about the same, but finally managed to get an update appointment with my foot to see a surgeon, and it's news. So this is something just before we get into the main topic of today, and guys, we're very aware that we're kind of getting to what is the end of marathon season, aren't we now? So we, Adam and I wanted to give you some tips going into it because I know a lot of our listeners are kind of budding marathon runners, maybe first timers or newbies. So guys, we will come back to our main conversation of the day. But I did, for anyone who's playing along weekly, I've been dealing with this heel issue for what seems like forever, and it's probably been nearly half a year now, and I finally got around to getting what feels like a third or fourth opinion from a surgeon, and it's not looking good, mate. It's
right.
It's either bad or it's worse is the situation. So long story short, I've either got an issue with the fat pad on my heel whereby it's gone or it's worn down. So now I'm not able to cushion my heel, and the only solution to that really is kind of wearing heel cups, orthopedic heel cups. But then the problem's basically there forever, and if it flares up, I'll have to stop intermittently. Or worst case scenario, it is pinched nerve or trapped nerve, whereby they can only diagnose it through a steroid injection, which is apparently very painful. And then if they've confirmed it, it's very intrusive surgery into the heel. Yeah, man. It looks like my running career might be over before it ever really started, but that's okay. I've got a couple of avenues to go down before we look at the surgical option. And today I've just been kind of processing, not really processing because there's bigger things in life than dealing with a foot injury, but because I took the day off work to go down and see the surgeon, I had some time to reflect. So that's really how I am. Had a great ride on the bike this morning, though. Did some really good sweet spot intervals, which was lovely.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Great fun because I trained early. Normally I train like Friday afternoon. I was able to get on the bike early, have coffee, and man, I felt very, very strong, which was nice.
Yeah,
but I think it's just that that time of year, and I mentioned in my Instagram story that it is Melbourne Marathon coming up this Sunday. So guys, when you'll be listening to this, it will have finished because it will be the Wednesday afterwards. But just because it is kind of marathon weekend and we've got Chicago coming up, I guess we wanted to, yeah, like I was saying earlier, go over maybe some race week or race weekend tips to get you ready for the performance, really for the main event. So, Adam, why don't you kick us off, mate? What are you thinking?
Yeah, mate. Well, firstly, just to hope everything pans out and starts to hopefully look a little bit better for you on the heel and the foot. Hopefully, it's not the end of everything. But I did see you were on the bike today, and you got in a session and you're feeling strong. So there could be a nice bike purchased over the next few months. I'm thinking. But
Maybe.
tell me this: what was the session you did today?
I did, so it's a session I did a couple of weeks back, and I think it's probably my favorite sweet spot session on Zwift. So for anyone who is cycling on Zwift, it's called like Explosive SST, and it's I think I mentioned it to you last week or the week before, where it's 15-minute blocks at, I think it's probably about 90% of FTP. And then it's kind of each one of those blocks is preceded by 5 quick, sharp intervals at, for me, it was about 295 watts. So about 105 watts more than my sweet spot intervals are at. So really quite aggressive bursts of speed. And then you slow down into the intervals. And it's,
Did you say 5 minutes or 1 minute? Sorry.
For which one?
For the at 295 watts, did you do it for 5 minutes or 1 minute?
No, like 15 seconds. 15 seconds.
Okay,
super
so
short.
like a sprint, and then you settle down into the rhythm of like that sub FTP or sub
basically
sub threshold.
Yeah,
and that sounds like a pretty cool session
for anyone doing them. Like 15 minutes. So for me, I think my FTP is probably around 3.3 watts per kilo, which is about 210, 215 watts. Sitting at 190 watts for 15 minutes is actually quite tough. Like if you're not feeling great on a day, that's not that nice. Because it's a long time to be grinding for it. It's just this morning, because I felt good, it was like I could have sustained it all day. So it was really nice to be doing that. So yeah.
And that's really how you should feel on a session like that, isn't it? Like if you're well recovered and you're actually recovering between your training sessions, that's how you should feel. And lots of athletes who aren't recovering enough or doing their easy rides / runs too fast feel shit on their sessions because they're just running or riding on their easy days too hard. But no, that's class. It's just the reason why I asked is because I was pretty sure I'd seen on Insta you'd done some 15-minute efforts, and it's funny, on Monday I actually did 3 by 15 minutes at sub threshold on the treadmill.
Okay.
So we did. We're a little bit in sync this week. I know you did the 15-second sprints pre 15 minutes, but yeah, for the first time in a long time, I did 3 by 15 minutes. So I actually took lactate on that as well. So I was getting very scientific on Monday.
What kind of paces were we looking at? Are you happy with how things were going on that one?
It was at about 550 per mile pace.
Let's move it.
I think I started at about 555 and finished at about 542. So overall, the average I think was about 550-ish. Again, it's on the treadmill, so may not be so accurate, but it felt accurate, and I took lactate and it seemed to be accurate. So I kept it, like I took lactate after the first and the last rep, and it was 2.5 millimoles after the first and 2.4 millimoles after the last. So it was steady state. I was in the right sort of metabolic state, and it was a good session. I enjoyed it. I do enjoy those longer. I know you mentioned about sort of longer intervals being a little bit sometimes boring on the treadmill. I think when you get the intensity right and you have a good playlist on, I enjoy them. You just kind of lock in, and I really enjoyed that session. I couldn't tell you what I've done the rest of the week because, again, my Garmin and my Garmin Connect app seems to have gone a little bit AWOL, but I'll have to get it from memory when we maybe chat about that in a little bit.
So it's interesting as well. You talk about like listening to music on longer intervals. Like for me today, I had a podcast, and then an audiobook to finish me off, because it was quite a long session. It was about an hour and 35 in total, and that keeps me distracted. Whereas music, I find, only really works on the punchier intervals, so anything kind of less than 6 minutes, I'd say. I really struggle to listen to music on longer ones, because I'm like, it almost plays with me how many songs I'm getting through,
Yeah.
like
I
in a
don't know.
weird way.
I always when I'm listening to something on those longer intervals, I don't listen to anything that's going to like get me up too much, if that
Mm,
makes sense. I
yeah.
try to just make it nice and like chill. Whereas if it's shorter intervals that are maybe a little bit more intense, I'd probably be listening to something a bit more upbeat, or a bit more something that gets you going a little bit more. But anyways, it was a good session. But we have a chat about marathon week, and kind of like the things that people experience in marathon week. I think this is a time whenever a lot of athletes sometimes go into a little bit of self-destruct mode.
Mm.
I know lots of athletes find the week of the race itself quite quite tough. The anxiety can be quite high, the pre-race nerves can be quite high, and you can almost go into self-sabotage mode at various stages throughout race week. And I know we've got Melbourne and Chicago coming up this week, and by the time this goes out, a lot of our athletes will have already ran. But we also have Dublin. Not for it's still Dublin's still 3 weeks away, so or 2 weeks away. Sorry, I should say, this Sunday. So we've still got that, and I'm sure there's other marathons happening too. I've got a couple of other athletes training for other marathons around the place, so I think it would be a decent little chat. We could touch on, I don't know, maybe like the expo itself, like how to get in and get out of there without spending an absolute clean fortune, and getting caught up with everyone. Maybe sleep, maybe what to do in terms of training that week, or how to manage your week.
I think, honestly, like, one of the biggest things that I found from, especially from race week, and I guess this applies to anything from half marathons to marathons, is actually finding a bit of a balance. And I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this, but finding a balance between, so for most runners, especially if you're like really dialed in on a training program or regime, whatever you want to call it, you've probably been pretty rigid. So each week is looking very similar in terms of how you're managing things. At least I know mine was. And then you get to race week, and things have actually changed quite a lot. So your chances are the shape of your running week has changed, whether it's like decreases in volume, intensity. You might even change around which days you're running to allow for like appropriate rest, and obviously having a shakeout on the Saturday before. Chances are the run's on Sunday. And I guess that can throw you off. And then it's like, if you start to overthink things, so let's say, for instance, something that was going through my head is like, well, okay, I'm doing less work, I'm doing less mileage. Should I be eating less to try and manage my body weight? Should I be walking less? Should I be? And I'm interested to get your thoughts on, do you think there's a case for keeping things as consistent as possible, or how would you personally kind of try and find that balance between the consistency you normally have but making it work for obviously peaking into the race?
Yeah, good question. And sorry that I'm coughing away in the background here, but um, yeah, I think there's a massive case to be had for just maintaining like your routine. And I put a post up during the week around like some marathon tips, and for me, like getting into like a rhythm of life is really nice in marathon training. So your body and mind kind of know what to expect throughout your week. And I think obviously race week, when the taper is in full swing and you're definitely not training as much, I personally still like to keep a relatively similar training routine. So for me, when I was running double days, I still do the doubles. I just shorten both quite significantly. There might be 1 or 2 days. Let's say I'm getting a massage on the Wednesday or Thursday, when I drop the second double and almost treat the massage as like the second session. This, I think, becomes easier with experience and with time, for sure. I know for me it has anyway. the more you do it, the more races you prepare for, the more sort of automatic it becomes, and for me, the less worrying it becomes, or the less like nerve wracking. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for kind of a consistent routine um, throughout race week itself. Yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm one of these typical overthinkers, especially because I've only done a handful of races, and obviously I've done one marathon, so that experience was my first, and it got better as I went through them, and I found that the last race I did, which was the Run Melbourne Half, I was definitely better than I was with the other ones, but I guess I would get so kind of anal about everything to the point where I was buying for the marathon. Like, I don't necessarily think it was overkill, but I was watching everything that I was eating in the week prior. I was like,
Mm,
I think you said it yourself. You were like, "Oh, it's called going full monk mode," and I was like
mm,
avoiding all processed foods. I was making sure I was. That's when I started taking ashwagandha to help manage stress, and yes, I guess it's hard to argue because I got the result I wanted and I got the performance, but part of me thinks that I was a lot more relaxed when I did my Run Melbourne Half, and arguably I'd say I think I performed better on the day and I changed less. Like, the only day I really adjusted things was the day before, and I didn't
yeah,
I wasn't changing my steps, I wasn't changing my training routine, and so I think for me it's like just try and keep life as normal as possible.
yeah, yeah. From a food perspective, I honestly wouldn't recommend changing anything.
mm,
To be honest, of course, as you train less, you're going to be a little bit less hungry, and you'll naturally eat a little bit less. This is
I'm
like
not
early stages of race week.
don't
Go on.
I'm not 100% sure from a personal anecdotal perspective. I didn't find that. I found
So
that I was equally as hungry.
I'm gonna challenge this, okay? And
Okay,
again,
let's
like
go.
you can come back to me and say, no, Adam, this isn't the case for me. But what I've seen with myself and athletes that I've worked with who have also said like my appetite didn't drop when I trained less. Did it? So when you're running and when you're training quite a lot, um, whether it's marathon training or just your weekly, it of course it depends on the individual. It depends on how much you're training, and it also depends on your job and like how active you are outside of it, and your appetite tends to be, I believe, directly correlated to your activity level. Um, so like right now, for example, I'm not running as much. My meals are pretty much identical to when I'm training. Like my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner, they're same volume of portions, same size of portion, and I feel like my appetite for meals is equal. But what I'm not doing is I'm not fueling in and around my sessions and in and around my meals.
Mm,
So I am eating this naturally without even realizing or thinking. I assume I don't look at calories, or I don't even I don't look at the food that I'm eating on a daily or a weekly basis. But I know I'm not eating as many, let's say, snacks or bowls of cereal, or bagels with some banana and honey between my meals or before sessions. So I think you almost eat less without thinking about it when you're training less, because
hmm
you're not fueling those sessions. You're not post session. Um, I don't have that insatiable appetite that I would have when I'm in marathon training, where there's just no filling me.
hmm
So I'm still eating the same meals and the same volume and size and portion sizes at meal times, but just not in and around them. I hope that kind of makes sense. And I think that's something that maybe people overlook, because they're like, well, I'm still hungry, like I'm still eating the same meal sizes. But then when you actually think about, are you actually eating as much, because are you not eating those snacks in between? I don't know. That's how I think about it anyway.
No, for sure. I agree. I think it's more of a case of there's definitely incidental reduction in how much you're eating. But for me, like when I was fueling around sessions, it was more kind of I was having so when I was doing my any interval kind of sessions, I was taking either a gel or a carb drink. And But the difference is, I suppose, I wasn't having that because I was hungry. I was having that because I knew I needed it. So it wasn't really changing appetite per se. Like I honestly don't think my appetite will have changed much. You know, I have done a little bit of research on how appetite correlates with exercise, and I don't think it's as clear cut as you do less and you will then be less hungry necessarily, just because we're
Really?
yeah, genuinely. And I think that the reason being is because we have so much access to food now. Unfortunately, some like our lifestyle and Western culture plays a big role in like appetite regulation, right? So I almost think we as a this is kind of going into a rabbit hole. We had to get there, man. We had to throw some rabbit holes in there, but our kind of our,
Always.
our hunger signaling and like appetite has basically been broken by our society and the foods we eat. So,
Well, I feel quite smug then,
how so? Smug?
because
Because
mine
you're
doesn't feel broken.
yeah,
Mine
you're
feels like it correlates directly with my activity level.
and hey, man,
Genuinely.
that's honestly, and that's the wonderful thing about any study is it's all based on a cohort, and there's always a spectrum of
Yeah.
individuals. Honestly,
Yeah. Well, I can tell you as an N of one,
mhm,
my appetite is directly correlated to my activity level.
mhm,
There is no doubt about it. I mean, I have a big appetite regardless.
mhm.
My wife likes to tell me that pretty much daily. But
Whoever's doing the shopping is morbidly aware of the fact you've got a huge
yeah,
appetite.
yeah, we spend a fair bit on groceries. But yeah, for me, it should be. I haven't done the research that you have, but for me, appetite should be directly correlated to your activity level. And to come back to our original point, I just think people are also really bad at listening to their body. And they do tend to overthink things. Myself included, by the way, in the past. I'm not privy to this. And I think just thinking less and listening more is the way. Whether it's race week or whether it's in training. And then knowing how to I just think the more you start to think about things, and if you try to eat quote unquote clean during race week, yeah, you're changing too much and you're changing things and you're adding stress and anxiety into the mind and the body, and that's no good. And like if you haven't ran on a Tuesday of race week and you feel absolutely starving, go eat something. Do you know?
For
it's
sure.
it's
Yeah.
for me that's like that's what it is. And I do understand there's a lot more to food, nutrition, and the mind than just talking in black and white terms. But at the same time, if you're feeling hungry, eat. And yeah, that's I mean it's probably not going to do you much harm in race week. I don't think you're going to go and most people aren't going to go and completely sabotage themselves and just say, oh, well, I've got to the end of my training block, I'm going to eat fast food every single day for every single meal. Stick to the principles that have got you this far in your training block. And like if you're feeling pretty hungry, don't be afraid to eat some more. And yeah, start storing that energy up for race day itself. I also think, again, anecdotally, in that period of time when your body is adjusting to less training, there is again, I'm actually going to contradict what I've said. I don't think that correlation between exercise activity levels and appetite, just like it's not like a switch just flicks. I do think there's that adjustment period, so you still may find yourself feeling like as hungry as you were when you were doing your full training during the initial few days of reduced training, because your body's still recovering from that work. Your body's still recovering from maybe 12 or 14 or 16 weeks of high volume training and high volume sessions. So I do think there's an adjustment period. In my experience, there's an adjustment period. Now that I'm reduced, now that my training has been reduced overall, I do see a direct correlation. And when I do more training, I feel hungrier. When I do less, I feel less hungry. That was a bit of a rabbit hole, but hopefully that makes some sense.
Yeah. Last point on that as well was it could be somewhat related to like body fat percentage. I mean, a lot of us are pretty damn lean. It's not like you're suddenly gone from what is sub 10% body fat to 20% body fat. So that's probably another reason why that hunger, like you were saying, could linger even though you're doing a little bit less. And again, that's something that is probably, again, the first time around, I was worried about, okay, if I kind of eat in too much of a surplus at this point, I'm going to gain body fat. And it's like, you just do not need to worry about that. Just do not
Well,
need to worry
that's
about that.
just what I was going to say. That's if body composition during race week is in your thoughts, get it out of your thoughts, because you're not going to really change body composition within 5 or 6 days. And
You'd have to go really, really hard to do that.
yeah, it's just it's not something that you need to worry about. Listen to your body. Listening to those hunger cues is definitely the way to go. And just limiting stress, like just less thinking about that stuff. For me, the better.
Mhm.
So I suppose that's food and race week, and how I manage it, how you manage it.
But something that I'm actually quite interested to hear about, because for me, I've never really had the experience. I'm always very much just avoiding, because the marathon I did was somewhat local. The half marathons I've done, I'd consider them very local. But as someone who's travelled to races a fair bit, I do want you to genuinely go into the situation with kind of expos, picking up bibs, dealing with all this travel situation, because again, I've never had to. I've always woken up on race morning, drive down. Max it's been is like just over an hour. I've already got my bib with me, and you'll go. But tell us what it's like dealing with that kind of the whole
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah, and that's really important, because that is a time when anxiety can run quite high, and that's when the nerves start to really hit, when you kind of travel somewhere. I did a webinar a while back for my own my own fold of athletes, and they found this really useful for dealing with that, like week and day before an expo, and traveling to a hotel or an Airbnb in some cases, and why one can be better than the others. Yeah, when you're traveling away, it can definitely be something to deal with. First and foremost, the expo. I like to try get there at a time that it's quiet, preferably 2 days before the race, because it gets pretty chaotic the day before, if possible, if you're traveling with enough time. And I honestly just get in and out of there. Like even when you go to London Marathon, and it's just a circus. Like there is thousands of people. There is so many stands. It's a very cool place for a runner, because it's like Disneyland. And
Kid in a candy
honestly,
shop.
mate, I just get in and pick up my number and get out. And that's what I recommend people do. You can go and you can walk around for hours and spend money and everything else, but it's just a time for me to get the number and get out of there, because it's almost like information overload, or it's too much stimulus when you go in there for your brain, because it's just flashing lights and everything else. So that's my recommendation, and it might sound boring, but get into the expo, get your number, and get out of there, and see if like.
Have you ever kind of indulged in an expo? Because I know you did Boston, but you weren't racing, so you've
Yeah,
never.
we didn't actually go to the expo in Boston.
Oh right, okay.
We went to go because I thought it'd be cool to go in, but the queue was so long, and I was just like, yeah, we're not standing in a queue for an expo. I've got better things to do. So we didn't bother. And that's the thing, like, I think it's very easy to think it would be quite cool to have a good walk around it, but like for me, it's just running stuff, and like, I don't know, it's shoes, it's gels, it's
nothing you haven't
if you've
seen
seen
before.
one, you've seen them all. You
Yep.
know. Yeah, in and out for me. And the quicker that I can get that number picked up and get out of that expo, the better. This year in London was funny, because do you remember I was telling you, Kira, we had a flight drama? Do you remember?
Yeah.
So I actually had to fly over to London on my own, get to the expo, get out of there, and then meet Kira. So I was like a man on a mission that day. But yeah, I would definitely spend as little time there as possible. Another thing for me, and this might sound a bit crazy, but is like, when you're traveling to a race, is choosing to stay in like an Airbnb or a hotel. we tend to like an Airbnb for the simple reason that you kind of have a little bit more space to chill the day before the race. So like, I might only leave the apartment or the Airbnb or whatever like once the day before the race, just to maybe stretch my legs for 15 or 20 minutes on a walk or grab some coffee. Apart from that, I'm just lying up watching TV and just chilling. So for me, like, an Airbnb doesn't feel like a prison cell in the same way that a hotel can. Do you know, if you're in a hotel, the only place you can really chill is
to go out. Yeah.
It's like you just lie on the bed and those four walls can come in around you a little bit. That's unless you're booking a big suite somewhere. But yep, I ain't booking a suite. The thing about an Airbnb is it tends to have good cooking facilities as well, so you can make all your food and prep. Like, we always like to make our own meals the day before a race, and really like not have any dramas or stress about that. So I've always gone Airbnb for races in cities, and it's worked really nicely. Like Copenhagen, we stayed in a really nice apartment, and in London, both this year and when I'd done it before, we stayed in apartments, and it was definitely the way to go for us anyway. Of course, it depends like what type of trip you're having. Like, do you want to go to the marathon and perform your absolute best, or is it a sightseeing trip? Is it a tourism trip? Is it something just for you just having a bit of crack? So that's something that I would think about. And then for me, it's just like everything's about like a process and planning. So just even going back to like the beginning of race week, it's just like, it might sound really boring, but it's just about ticking boxes. And when you've done it many times, they become automatic. But if it's your first time, even just writing those things out on a piece of paper or a whiteboard, like me in my little office here, and ticking them off day by day. So whether it's like training, whether it's getting your bag packed, whether it's making sure your shoes are there, you know, grabbing your fuel and making sure you have the gels on you, charging your watch, all those little things that need done. I think if you can write them out and tick them off, that's a great way to reduce stress. And if you're reducing stress, for me, you're just saving energy, and that's only going to facilitate a good marathon. So, when you get to like Saturday of race week, if your race is Sunday, I know there's a lot of people running Lisbon Marathon in a couple of weeks, and it's actually a Saturday race. But it's all about just planning tomorrow. So like planning what time you got to leave your apartment to get the public transport to the start line. Packing your race bag that you'll throw onto the race lorry that you'll pick up at the end. Just for me, it just comes down to planning, and having it all done in good time, so it can just be sitting ready to go. Even something as simple as like throwing your kit over the back of your chair before you get ready. You know, so for me, I'll have like my clothes set out. And I've done this for a long time. Even when I was playing football as a youngster, I used to set my kit out the night before and pack my bag. So when it came to the day of the game and the marathon's exactly the same, there's no thinking required. You know, even my socks are sitting ready to go. And that might sound like, you know, way too much. But for me, it literally just means I can just go bang, 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 bang on the morning of the game or the race, and everything's just in place. It's ready to go. No stress. Same with the breakfast. Things are set out, and it limits my stress and limits how much I have to think. So for me, that's big. And finally, I suppose on like the days before is just plan your journey to the start. Have that planned, and also have a backup. And I think if you do all of those things and do them well, you can just chill out. And that's the place you want to be. You don't want to be running around and stressing the couple of days leading into your big race.
I think one thing I'll add to that, again, I'm completely on your side. I remember for all my races, I've done basically everything the day before. I've just had nothing scheduled. I've had a bit of an itinerary, a bit of a schedule. I've had a tick box. And I've just made sure everything was packed. Morning of, I had nothing to do really, aside from the basic shit like pick up your stuff and brush your teeth. I mean, and like you said, it really does go a long way. But another thing I want to mention, this goes for less for people that are kind of don't really have to travel to a marathon, even though it absolutely will affect you, and it has affected me a couple of times, is that there is inevitably going to be nerves the night before a race, and if you're sleeping in a bed or a city, in fact, that isn't familiar, like you're going to have to, unless you're a really good sleeper and you're out like a light every night, you're probably not going to have the best sleep in the world. However, as long as you have hopefully banked up a good week of sleep prior, one bad night probably isn't going to make or break your race. And even for me, from Run Melbourne, the Run Melbourne half from a few months back, I distinctly remember, so I actually had no issues before the Ballarat Marathon, even though I was a lot more nervous before that. I was absolutely fine. Like, I slept through, woke up at my alarm, felt great. But before, for whatever reason, before Run Melbourne, my body woke me up at about 2. And I was thinking, oh, okay, here we go. I'm starting to think about the race. I'm thinking about what I need to do. And I just wasn't, I could feel myself just not being able to get back to sleep. And I was like, and instead of sitting here stressing for the rest of the night, I am going to just get myself up. And by this time, it was about 2:45. I was like, I'm just going to get up. I'm going to watch some TV. I'm going to relax. I'm going to have coffee, have an early breakfast, and just take it for what it is. And I ended up having the best run of my life, man. So
I couldn't agree more, mate. And
Yeah.
that's something that I tell my own athletes all the time. It's like, do not panic if you don't sleep well the night before. Most people won't, because that nervous energy. If your sleep has been consistently good throughout your training block and even in the week leading in, you'll be absolutely fine. You will be absolutely fine. So don't panic or stress about that. And just sorry, a final point on the Expo. Sorry to come back to it. Look, what not to do at the Expo? Do not try any samples of gels or products that you haven't used before. Don't buy new socks for race day at the Expo. Definitely don't buy new shoes. I would advise not having anything, or by all means purchase at the Expo if it's your thing. Do not use it on race day unless it's something like a cap or something like that, and you need it for the sun.
Even
and the other thing is,
I don't know.
Yeah,
if you're not used to running with a cap and all of a sudden you find you've got a hot head.
Yeah,
I know, mate.
True. I was about to purchase a white cap in London this year because it was going to be a sunny and a hot marathon. But then I was like, you know what? I've never raced with a cap. Let's not start. I run with a cap all the time, but I've never raced with one. So that, and then also just final point at the Expo is do not get on the big, massive treadmill. You know, the treadmill that replicates like world record marathon pace.
Yeah.
I have seen more people. I have seen more people fall off those, and you definitely don't want to be running at 4:40 or whatever it is per mile when you're used to running 6-minute Ks.
Yeah, when you've
so stay off that. I've seen Mo Farah falling on it, so don't think you can get away with it.
They're designed to trap you. They're designed to create Instagram reels where people fall off. Just, it's not worth it, man. Wait till after your marathon. If it's still there in the afternoon, by all means jump on. But
yeah, absolutely. And then just on the sleep, I've just got on my screen. I've got a few things here, so I'm actually taking them from a few of the tips that I give my athletes. Sleep like the night before, for example. Again, we're not sleep coaches, but some general rules that I think people can apply. It's just those basic ones. Is like limit your fluids and food pre-bedtime. So try. Obviously, you'll be carb loading and you'll be trying to stay really hydrated for your race, but really do aim to have that completed a couple of hours before you actually want to go to sleep. So yeah, you're not trying to digest like heaps of food when you're trying to sleep, and you're not needing to use the bathroom. I've made that mistake in the past where literally I haven't been able to sleep because I've just constantly needed to pee. I always think reading is not one of the number one ways to help me fall asleep. And I also think, sorry, I can't speak here. Staying in an Airbnb, this might sound crazy, but for me, I actually feel more relaxed in an Airbnb than a hotel. There's something about a hotel that just feels like a little bit alien for sleep sometimes. And this is when like you're nervous. Like if I'm just staying in a hotel for absolute relaxation purposes, I can sleep no problem. But I find like pre-race, the hotel can just feel just a bit like
it's almost artificial.
Yeah. Whereas the
Mm.
Airbnb, if it's decent and you've done a bit of research, it can feel like home a little bit, or more homely anyhow. I know in Copenhagen, like I slept like a baby the night before the race, and I was nervous.
I'm just gonna
And
literally,
London was the same.
I'm gonna back that up and say I've stayed in. It must be something about Scandinavia because I've stayed in an Airbnb in Oslo and in Stavanger, both in Norway. Oh my gosh, these Airbnbs, you just feel like you're going home to your
Yeah,
home, even though
Scandi
you're,
vibes.
mate, Scandinavian Airbnb. Shout out to you guys because you care. I can tell you
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, well, I slept like a baby. I genuinely did. I remember it. I remember getting to sleep and waking up the next morning and being like, how have I slept all night? Because normally pre-race, like you, I wake a couple of times. I don't really get into that deep of sleep. But that was good. Caffeine. Try not to have any caffeine after 12 o'clock in the day. That includes tea, like breakfast tea, for
And
example.
Coke.
So don't go, yeah, and fizzy drinks. So try to just be careful with that. Um, and really do look to limit caffeine after 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, my usual caffeine stop is 2 p.m., but
It's quite
on
late,
a
mate.
race,
Ooh.
on a pre-race day, I know, mate, we go to bed a little bit later than you, though.
Yeah,
You're a proper early to bed kind of guy.
mate. Even
Um,
still, like
yeah,
I'm cutting off by about 6 a.m. my caffeine. Genuinely.
nah, nah, not me. I haven't. I normally haven't even had my first at that time. So, yeah, 12 o'clock for me is that cutoff. And of course, everyone is different. I would also stay off my phone
Mm.
um, later in the evening. So again, wind down gradually. Like just think about when you want to be sleeping or aim to be sleeping for. Try to stay off that phone. Stay off Instagram. Stay off TikTok. Um, limit the screen time and limit the kind of that stimulus from your phone. And then finally, for me, one of those little things that helps massively and helps me fall asleep is just like breathing. When
Mm.
you're a little bit of box breathing can help massively. Just bringing your attention to you don't have to be thinking that you're meditating or anything like that, but it's something that has helped me get to sleep many times when I've struggled. That's a tip that Kira taught me, so that's one that I think helps massively. You got any tips?
No, nothing more so that you give me. I think again, sleep comes down to just try and keep everything as consistent with what you do normally. Again, we've given you a couple of things, but if you can implement them a couple of weeks before the race, right? It's like try practice the meditation or the box breathing a couple of weeks before so that you can apply it on race night and everything feels more normal. Even just try and keeping the bedroom as cool and as quiet as possible. Like for me, earplugs and an eye mask go such a long way. And if you're in a foreign city or an alien city, worse a hotel, there's probably going to be background noise. So like little things, get yourself a white noise monitor, get yourself earplugs. Like I said, eye mask. It's going to make a difference.
What's a white noise monitor?
Sorry, just a white noise maker. You can get like little. Like we've got one for the little one. It's kind of just like an egg box that sits in the room and just makes a white noise.
All right, okay.
I use a fan most of the time, just put on the fan, but obviously I can't take a fan with me, so you just take the white noise machine. So some people put in headphones. I'm not sure. I'm a massive fan of that. It'd be quite uncomfortable.
No, I'm with you.
Um,
I'm an earplug and an eye mask kind of guy.
yeah, I'm
The earplugs especially.
earplugs and a fan, man.
Yeah, earplugs are golden. Definitely a good tip. And again, like get them and try them long before race day and just implement them. And then when it comes to staying somewhere noisier, it doesn't feel like you're doing something different. But just to go back just to your point that you just made, like don't do anything new. That's the most important thing. It should feel as much like just another Saturday night / Sunday as possible, because you will have been doing those big training runs. And for me, when I'm coaching someone, I really do try to pitch those Sunday runs, those big marathon specific sessions, as mini marathons. So if you can on the Saturday, do treat it like the day before the race in a way, not maybe just as much, but food, sleeping, time, it's just all those little bits and pieces so that the race itself doesn't feel like a massive shock to your system, and you can stay calm. But I mean, ultimately, be organized, focus on what you can control, not what you cannot. So, don't be going crazy checking the weather every 30 minutes and using up unnecessary energy or stress. And also expect to feel like you're coming down with something. I've felt sick the day before races so many times.
Yep.
The day before London in 2022, I was convinced I had COVID, like absolutely convinced. And I was like to Ciara, like, I have to test because if I have COVID, I can't race. And she was like, don't test. And I went and I tested. And of course, I didn't have COVID and I had a great race and everything else. But I was just absolutely convinced and feel your brain will start to play tricks on you. Yeah, that's definitely something. And remember your race shoes. Don't forget, like, it's quite easy when you're focusing on all these little small things to forget something like your race shoes in your bag. So again, just have everything set out, have everything ready to go. And I mean, have all this done early in the day. So if you're staying in a hotel or an Airbnb and your race is a Sunday, have this all done on like Saturday morning. When you're just chilling or moseying around, get all this ready. So like come Saturday night when it's time to wind down, and Sunday morning when it's time to actually go, you don't have to worry about any of that. And plan that journey to the start line and plan your meeting point after. So you're not like thinking, oh, where am I going to meet my family or my friends or my partner? You're not thinking about that on the way to the race. Like have that all planned so you can just chill out.
I'll tell you a fun story just on that note and before we begin to wrap up. So again, Ballarat is the only marathon I've ever done. And that's the one thing that we didn't fully, because I didn't know what to expect with the marathon. It was a big event. It was the biggest event I'd done at the time. And I had Nicole, I had the little one, and I had her parents there waiting for me at the finish line. And all I said, I was like, oh, I'll find you at the finish line, forgetting there's like 20, 30,000 people there. And I distinctly remember like crossing the line, feeling great. And then as soon as I stopped and actually realized, I was like, I'm freezing cold. I actually feel quite sick now and I can barely walk. I was like, shit, I have no idea.
Not a great combo, man.
It's a potent combo, but yeah, not a great one. And I was like, I have no idea where they are or how to get to them. And I was probably walking around. I use the term walking lightly because it was probably more of an uncomfortable shuffle. And it took me about 20 minutes to find them. And by the time I found them, I was so depleted. I was like, we just need to go to the car. I need to sit down and we need to get the heating on because I'm properly fucked. So I would it's not just a case of don't just expect to see people at the finish line, like have a landmark, go, I will meet you here, be there when I cross the line roughly in this time. And again, make sure you have a rough idea of how long it's going to take as well, because otherwise it's like you don't know if it's going to be 3 hours, 4 hours. And obviously they give you things to just like leave, have an emergency phone number on you just in case. Because I didn't take my phone around with me. So you should
have your emergency contact written on the back of your bib.
Yeah.
So it's worth filling that in, even if you don't need it in the case of an emergency. It can be handy to have, so you can call whoever you need to just meet up with them after the race. But definitely a good point, and just have that all organized. And I think finally, just from a warm up perspective as well for the marathon. I think a lot of people think when they're going to race a marathon, especially it's their big race and they've planned for months, that the warm-up is actually really important. It's not. The warm-up is not that important for the marathon. Rule of thumb, shorter race distance, longer warm-up. Longer race distance, shorter warm-up. And yeah, like in London this year, I had one of the best performances or races that I've ever had. And I think my warm-up was probably about 4 minutes of jogging in a field. And the field wasn't even flat. It was all over the place. I was more focused on staying calm and relaxed. And yeah, like don't panic about your warm up. For me, a few minutes of gentle jogging, if you can get a couple of like 30-second bouts of running where you're just picking up the pace a little bit to around or what feels like sort of race pace or slightly faster, it's more than enough. You just want your body to feel like it's ready to run, and that you can use the initial miles to kind of find your rhythm and warm up into it. And of course, the faster you are, the more the warm up is important, because you're going to move at a faster speed. But honestly, for a marathon, that's what we're talking about here, the warm up is not that important. What is much more important is not going out too fast. And I think the race strategy for a marathon is so much more important than the race strategy for 5K, 10K half. And that's something I spend a lot of time sort of talking with my athletes about, for sure, is like how to execute the marathon well. Whereas maybe if it's a 5K, I'd be like, just go and run the race. But then I'd be much more, this is how we're going to warm up, because that's going to allow you to express your full fitness. So that's how that kind of like switch flicks when I'm working with someone or coaching someone towards those races. The 5K, 10K, it's like much more emphasis on the warm up, and then race to feeling. The marathon, it's the opposite. It's like much less emphasis on the warm up, but much more emphasis on the race strategy itself, and taking into account, the weather and the conditions in the course and all that stuff. So that's, I suppose, the final point on those days or the time leading into your race.
That's the
I don't
last
think
thing.
we need to touch on like race strategy itself or fueling, because I think our conversation was really around like the pre-marathon,
I
the
think,
going into the marathon and the logistics of it all.
yeah, I think we've done a few podcasts as well talking about things like nutrition and race strategies. So yeah, if you're interested in that, maybe hop back to maybe some of the podcasts around kind of end of April when we were both training for the respective marathons at the time. But the last thing I'll add to that as well is you made a good point about weather, in that I think it's probably worth having an idea of what it's going to be like on the day, and then be prepared in case you need to take layers off. So for instance, if you're like starting early and chances are it's going to kind of pick up in temperature by maybe 5 or 10 degrees, like instead of dressing warm and not being able to change, things like arm sleeves that you can take off and put them in your flip belt, or gloves that you can, that's what I did for Run Melbourne, gloves that you could just take off. Even heat packs I had, because Run Melbourne was,
Mate, they're my favourite.
mate,
Not for running, just for general day to day in the winter.
they're fantastic. I had, because
these are the ones you can like stick to your clothing.
yeah, you can stick them to your body, mate.
We could talk about
Fantastic.
these for a while.
They're great. Just like even having a couple of those ready
We
to
really
go.
are two old men living in a 30-something-year-old body, aren't we?
Mate, it's bad. It's bad. At least you go to bed at a normal time. I'm in bed by 8, and caffeine done by 6 a.m. But 100% those heat packs and the hand warmers are pristine. Absolutely.
They're cheap as chips too, man. Home bargains here in Lurgan is like, I don't know, they're like 2 or 3 of them for 99p, and they are so good. If
That's
I'm like going to watch a football match or going, even if we're just going out shopping and it's freezing in the winter, I just stick one on the back of my t-shirt.
That's better than Australian prices. I think it costs us, I think you get like a big patch, like one of the big jobbies for a couple of dollars.
Yeah, they're so good.
3 for 99p. Jesus, mate.
Yeah,
Shout
they're
out
unreal.
your prices. But yeah, I think that's a good kind of a good few takeaways for you guys over I suppose the coming months. Like I said, there's a couple of races coming up. Even if this has come out a little bit too late for.
Last point. Sorry.
Go.
If you're in a city, if you're traveling to wherever it is, whether it's Chicago, Lisbon, Amsterdam, Dublin, limit the amount of walking that you do pre-race. I know you or your partner, this is like if you really want to perform at your best. I also get that people don't sometimes just go to marathons for, yes, to perform, but also for just the experience of it all, and that's absolutely cool. Like, I'm all for that. However, if your goal is really performance related and it's to run to your potential, the day before and days leading in, just try not to do too much sightseeing. I would just say, like, if you can sit down, and if you can lie down. As we said before, I think a couple of months back, and save the sightseeing for after, if possible.
Mm.
Plan the trip or the cool activities post race, and you can show off your medal if you like. I remember walking around Boston the day after the marathon. They always have their marathon on a Monday, and on the Tuesday, everyone was running around the city with their medal on, which is typical America, isn't it?
It's such an American thing. A day after as
Yeah.
well. Jesus.
Mate, it was, everyone was running around in the Boston Marathon jacket and with their medal. I was like, if I see another person with,
It's almost
yeah,
like
it's like, okay, we get it. You ran a marathon yesterday.
the Boston Marathon logo is almost like a clothing brand at this point, because it's so
Yeah, it is.
hard to get, relatively hard to get in. You know what? It is hard to get into the Boston Marathon. Like, frankly, it is difficult. People see it as almost like a badge of honor, and I think
Yeah,
wearing it
they
on the
do.
day, yeah, fair enough. Like, I'll walk around and wear my medal on the day, fair enough. But if you're getting dressed the morning after, going, what shall I wear today? Yeah, t-shirt, jeans. Yeah, marathon medal from yesterday. That's a bit much. That's a bit extra, as the kids say. Would you not agree?
I do agree personally. Yeah, but seemingly many others don't.
There you go. Well, I
So,
guess you can do
I
what you
agree with
like.
you.
We're being
can.
just grumpy old men talking about medals, but yeah. Now that we've kind of covered this, Adam, I've been waiting to ask, what's the plan for the weekend? Are we playing? Are we training? You got matches?
Yeah,
coming
playing
up?
tomorrow. Got a game tomorrow, so very much looking forward to that. Be first game in a few weeks, so cannot wait. Hopefully, it's not cancelled. And I'm off to get my eyes tested today.
Okay.
We really are old men, aren't we? So apart from that, apart from that, not a massive pile. No, I haven't got much on. Shout out to our mate Squire, who I was saying we were going to watch in a match last week. I know he listens to the podcast. He's a few episodes behind, but I went to watch him play last Saturday night, and they won. They won their semi-final, so they're into the final next week. So shout out to him, because he had an absolutely brilliant game, and he's captain of the team as well. So hopefully they do the business next week, and yeah, win their first championship in 15 years.
Oh, look at that.
So that's next weekend, but just wanted to give him a quick shout out. Yeah, I still haven't got in the pool because I've been feeling pretty rough, but I am hoping to get in there over the next few days. I've got the shorts ready to go. I have ordered a swim cap. I've ordered goggles because I couldn't find my other ones. I've ordered one of those little pull buoys that you can put in between your legs that stops your legs from sinking, because that seems to be my issue. And I think it's a good, Kira tells me anyway, it's a good, it's a great way to like work on your technique. So I'm hoping to get into the pool once I start feeling a bit better. But apart from that, mate, it's my dad's birthday actually. So we have some plans on Sunday for Dad's birthday.
Happy birthday, Adam's dad. What's his name?
Philip.
Philip. Happy birthday, Philip. There you go. All the way from Australia. Happy birthday. How good is that? How old is he?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, surely not a day over 40. I won't believe it.
Yeah,
I've not even seen him.
He's in his late 50s. So yeah.
Brilliant.
We'll have some dinner in Mum's on Sunday for Dad's birthday. So looking forward to that. What about you, buddy?
Yeah, nothing for me. I've actually got all the medical stuff going on at the moment. I obviously had my surgeon appointment today, and I've got a blood test in the morning through my good friend Scott, who is actually starting up a bit of a business. I'm going to give a shout out to them. They're called Tailored. I'm going to butcher the name now because I'm overthinking it. I think it's Tailored Healthcare Solutions. They're basically working to provide services like kind of blood tests or just general health and well-being services to individuals or to companies. And it's kind of I'm kind of guinea pigging for them. So yeah, Scott was kind enough to help me organize a blood test for things like my testosterone, my red blood cells, iron levels, everything that you'd kind of want as not just an athlete, but for me being plant-based as well, just to get things looked at. And this is a big deal for me because I absolutely hate blood tests. I'm so anxious. Like I'm just dreadful with injections.
And you're
So
tattooed to the absolute death.
it's so different. There's a difference
Yeah, I know. I
between
get it.
it's a
It's not just a
scratch.
needle.
Yeah,
I know.
nah.
I know.
And even like again, just a bit of an anecdote. I had my first filling probably about a month ago, and I was like petrified of that as well. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I won't lie. Like,
Your first ever filling.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's some
Yeah.
going at 30 years of age.
Thanks, man. I wanted to
Did you
try
not
and
eat
get.
many sweets as a youngster?
Nah, literally, I didn't like fizzy drinks and I didn't like sweets. I was big into
Oh, okay.
chocolate and like
Yeah.
carbs, but I must have got away with one. But
Good
yeah, I
on
did.
you. You're blessed.
I know, but I got there in the end and I had to get my injections and yeah, blood tests for me are like the worst of the worst. So I'm terrified, mate. But otherwise, not much going on. It'll be a quiet weekend. The weather's turning here, so we're starting to get into those 20+ degree days. And I think by the end of next week, we're probably going to be high 20s. So get out in the factor 50, get after some sunlight. I cannot wait, mate.
Yeah, it's the opposite here. But this time of year is absolutely class for running. The autumn time. The trees
It's
are
nice.
beautiful and leaves are falling. It's class. I also need to get my ring doorbell installed, mate. I bought a ring doorbell. Amazon had a big deal on, so I
Yes.
pushed the button and we have it. I have it just sitting here, and every time I walk past it, I get a notification on my phone saying there's someone at your door. Even though the ring doorbell is just sitting on my desk, so that's something for the weekend, maybe.
Mate, you've done the hard part. The hard part is getting it attached to the outdoor. At least it was for us. And yeah, and you'll get like PTSD every time someone's or for me, if someone's at work and their ring goes off on the phone. I'm like, oh, is it mine? But yeah, it's yeah, maybe that's a nice thing. That's the only thing. As much as we're old people, I'm dreadful with DIY, so I had to get my father-in-law to do that one for me.
Me and you both, mate. I wouldn't be the most skilled in that department either, unfortunately.
Something about millennials around like 30 years of age. We just
Yeah,
missed
we're
that
useless.
handyman.
Much to the dismay of my own father.
Yeah. Oh, mate. I think my dad's well aware that I'm not that guy. I think he'll never listen to this, but my father-in-law is, I know he judges me hard and he's probably talking smack about me behind my back because he's very much a handyman, loves it. And I am not. I hate it. And I think he judges me on that. So
Yeah.
yeah. But look, I think
feel you, mate.
that's probably a good time to wrap up there for today, guys. So hopefully we've given you a little bit of value in today's podcast, not just kind of talking about random things, as much as I'm sure we'll get back to that in
Talking absolute shite.
Yes, we do talk absolute shite most of the time. And to be honest, I love it and we will get back to it. But today we thought we'd give you some value. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's a bit late for everyone, like we said, running, I think, Melbourne and Chicago, but for everyone else, good luck with any marathons coming up this weekend. Hopefully what we've given you will help you. And yeah, we're looking forward to chatting with you guys again soon. Thanks and take care.